Welcome back to Web3 DJs. In today's show, we've got a stud, Mr. Easy Eats Bodega, the resident badass Solana trading master. Lucky to have him. He's also a member of the Nifty Portal, and he's just an overall stud. So how you doing, Easy?
I'm good, man. I am good. I'm just trying to get my camera here so we can be clear. There we go. How you guys living, man? I'm good. Can't complain. Life is good. Things are moving. What's going on with you two?
Good,
Shoot, man,
just
I'm
Sunday
blessed.
afternoon, coming off that MMA fight last night, which was pretty cool. I saw your guys' Twitter space with Carlos Condit. That was pretty awesome.
Dude, it was unreal. Like, just being able to just kind of chop it up and ask him some questions, like ask him who the hardest punch he's taken is and stuff. It was pretty sweet, like just a surreal experience. So, really happy to kind of be able to have that opportunity.
Yeah,
Right
do you
on.
know who he said hardest punch was?
I could not remember the guy's name.
Ellenberger, Jake
Yeah, that's who it was.
Ellenberger.
Jake Ellenberger.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And just like Hofstra said, I'm obviously a big MMA fan as well. Had a great time watching the fights last night. Made a little bit of cash. Is this something that you guys are getting repeatedly? This MMA show?
Hopefully. I mean, I think there's going to be more opportunities for it. I'm sure Pio will end up hosting some of it because he carried that conversation. Like, absolutely. So, no more power to him. Dude, loved it. He did a great job. I had no problem kind of just sitting in the back seat, listening, enjoying, and kind of just throwing in some questions here and there.
Yeah, you'd be actually amazed. I was kind of thinking about this yesterday, or maybe it was the day before when you guys had announced this on the Nifty Portal or the Nifty Alpha Morning Show. But the crossover between Web3 and MMA is much stronger than you would think. I mean, the UFC has its official blockchain. It's VeChain. If you've heard of VeChain, that's the official blockchain of the UFC. There's another, I guess, token called Marshall Rogan Inu, and that's like really huge. They've raised a bunch of money, and basically they've
They
like
get paid in that too, don't they?
right,
Like, some of them will
exactly.
take
They're
like kickbacks and likeness in it. Yeah, I've
right.
heard of it.
And so what I was kind of thinking is like, MMA fighters fit really well with a lot of the like degens in the Web3 space because I think there's no secret that there's a large pay discrepancy in MMA versus at other sports. That's always at the forefront of these conversations. And so in lieu of that, MMA fighters are grinding to find incremental income, right? Other ways to make cash. And Web3 is like a perfect opportunity for them to do so.
For sure. It's pretty crazy too. And like you got to think like the crypto.com sponsorships for them have been around forever. Like the CRO token was big back in when it first launched with them. And dude, there's just a ton of fans too. Like I feel
Yeah.
like everyone I talk to in Web3 loves UFC. So it's like this overlap's wild. I'm for it though. I've been a huge UFC fan for years now. So it's a ton of fun.
Hey, well, speaking of tokens, you are like the Solana man, dude. I've watched you over the last year, and I remember when you first started talking about Solana, everyone made fun of you, dude. And they were just like, yeah, whatever, whatever. And you just stuck with it and started crushing, and now everybody's following you.
Yeah, I tried to give him the secret sauce a year ago. Tried to let him know, like, hey, it's better to be early than kind of play catch up. It is kind of funny though, because right now we're seeing this like we're Sol's trailing ETH right now with like the ENS stuff. Like dot Sol's popped off last night. 4 digits are going for like $500. We've seen a few of the 3 digits and 2 digits. A 2 digit sold for 22 grand last night on a dot Sol.
Dang.
Yeah, so like we're tailing the ENS hype, and I actually put out a tweet. I was like, I'm a little bit more worried about this because last time this happened on ETH, the market died shortly after and did like free mints for a little bit when the first ENS bull run happened. So we're seeing this dot Sol kick right now, and I'm a little worried, but it's all right at the moment, So we'll see where it goes. I do have a couple like 4 digits, and I think I still own Easy.Sol, which has like a 200 Sol offer on it. So there's a few of those that like I just got early in just because I wanted them. But now that this is like this kind of value add for it, I'm a little worried because this does not seem sustainable. But we'll see what happens. It's the other thing too, Hofstra, is it's hilarious because I got so much FUD from like specifically
Dude, I know.
Nick. Dude,
I
lit me
know.
up constantly.
You still get shit.
Still, but whatever. I'm still making money over here. I don't mind it at this point. And it's hilarious to see the YouTube so Solana focused now. So it's like I'm off that, launched my own channel with them, like its own umbrella. And now they're all Solana videos. So I'm like, oh great, perfect timing,
Hey, so what is the deal? Are you like, I know you've kind of branched off, you have your own YouTube, but I see Bodega Buddies, and Bodega Buddies is that your project that you're going to be launching with Nifty Portal?
Yeah, so that's the Solana project for the portal. So this will be the Solana vertical. They hired me full time as a partner for the Nifty, building out the Solana vertical. And so yeah, we're launching Bodega Buddies under the Nifty umbrella. It's going to be, I think, an 8888 collection of 11 different dog breeds. The goal is to have like crazy variants on these, so like no two really look alike. But we got a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes for like some storylines between like ETH versus Sol, and it's a little bit of alpha. We started teasing some of the fact that there's going to be that ETH PFP down the line, hopefully in like the next 45, 60 days here. And the hope is for this to launch in the next like 25 to 30 days.
Do you have dogs yourself?
Yeah, so my PFP is actually my dog. So
Oh,
like
that's
the easy
awesome.
picture, and like that GIF is the dog like looking. Yeah, that's actually my dog. I have a little Yorkie, 11-pound demon. So he's got floppy ears because we never like taped him up when my mom got him for me. And yeah, that's my dude. He's 3. He's awesome. He's a devil. But I love the guy.
Hey, so the one thing I never really understood is like, how do you find all the alpha? Like, I'm like, are you trading 24/7? Because Solana moves twice as fast as ETH. And I don't know if there's as much resources. I mean, there's probably more now, but you seem to always have like a tip or be on something. Like I remember you talking about Utes like 3 weeks before Utes even dropped. So like, how are you getting this?
Yeah, bro, I'm just like crazy plugged in. That's the thing. Like, I love this space. So, like, it doesn't really feel like research to me. Like, I love to just be like looking into stuff. Like, I'm still crazy bullish on Solana gaming. So, like, that's still a space that's like kind of lagging, but I'm pretty early on a lot of those projects and like looking into that stuff. And I love the research aspect. Like, I love to figure out why. Like, I always say, like, find the why. And that's where I really try to work is to like find my why of why does this project have potential? Why does it matter? Why should I care about it? Why should I put money in it? And why should I even talk about it? You know, so like if I can answer those questions and if I can answer them early, then I feel way better about the project. Which like Utes was a no-brainer for me, being like Frank's project and D Gods and already seeing some ETH overlap.
So what is your process though? Like if you're talking about researching, do you have a set way that you go about each thing that you've developed? And if so, what does that look like?
No, I love that question. I'm like pretty untraditional. I guess is probably the best way to say it. I'm kind of just like off the hip, just like if someone sends me a project and it's someone that like I've talked to or traded with a lot, and they're just like, "Yo, what do you think of this?" and I have no understanding of it, I'll be honest with them, like, "Dude, give me an hour. Let me just spend some time looking through this, and I'll look for any piece of information I can find on it. Website, Discord, Twitter, all their socials, going through it, trying to figure out who's on the team. Go look through those socials." Dive into the website, hit some Google searches on what the project name is, and just try to find any information. And it's not always the same process because, like, if you look at a project that's like an IP play, it may be completely different than looking at a gaming project that's VC funded by a VC fund. And a lot of those too is like if I see funding from like a third party into a project, I'll go look at who that funding provider is to see like what's their success rate. What do they actually do well in funding? Like if you're a clothing brand that got funded by a gaming company, that doesn't make sense to me. So then I'll try to figure out why the hell they did that. Are you going to have some gamification in it? Or is this just like someone trying to just get into the space and kind of cash grab? You know, so there's a bunch of different avenues. But I guess it really comes to like, and this is a long-winded answer, so I apologize. But it comes to like back when I was like heavy into equities, because dude, I love to read like financial documents and understand where they were spending money. So like that was always something I find interesting. And I don't know what it is, dude. I love to learn. So I think that plays into a lot of this too. And I've never been a big fiction person. So it's almost like nonfiction and math and finance and education stuff is like what I like to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what? We're definitely lifelong learners on this show as well. And something that I really enjoyed is you keep coming back to the why and finding the why. And what that reminds me of is my background. My undergrad was in marketing management and finance. And so I have a lot of love for marketing. And if you when they market, a lot of them start with the what. So let's say Dell, for instance, they'll say, hey, we have a brand new computer, Inspiron, come buy our the hottest microprocessor, the best screen display, all this sort of stuff. But then you take a company who's probably doing it the best, Apple, they start with the why. They say, so you need to do some research. You need to navigate the internet. Well, we've got a tool for you to do that. And so I think finding the why is like a strategy we've seen play out time and time again with some of the top companies in Web 2. And so that's a great strategy to be employing here.
No, and
Yeah.
I cannot agree anymore. It's like that why is always like what I find like is the most valuable asset. Like if you can explain why, then it's like it makes more sense for you to share it with somebody else too, you know?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So why Solana? originally? Why Solana?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too, because just on the Nifty Alpha show, you were saying that a year ago, and you brought it up earlier in this, a year ago, you were already suggesting that Solana would flip Ethereum in terms of numbers, volume and that sort of thing. And I guess it just happened, right, this last week. And so why?
Yep.
How did you see this a year out?
Dude, it was just like it made, I don't know, it's so crazy to say. And like my thesis was like, dude, it's everyone loves this whole decentralized aspect, but like that didn't make sense to me. Like it sounds so crazy because like I came from crypto in 17, 18 and lost a ton of money. And like that was where I realized like, dude, decentralization isn't gonna get mass adoption because people like me who lost a ton of money are most likely just gonna leave and never come back because there's no repercussions of people just like vanishing with your money. Like, how do you expect a Fortune 500 to be comfortable diving into this space if they can't call customer support or complain to somebody if something goes south, you know? And then all of a sudden, when I was looking at Sol, it was like, oh, this is VC funded heavily. Sam Bankman-Fried has grown FTX to a business that's like unreal. Like, it's crazy the numbers that it's gone to. And then I saw Crypto.com putting in offers. This was before it was official, putting in offers on the Staples Center. So I was like, okay, so clearly crypto is going to keep trending up. But where is it going to get adoption? And ETH having like their DAO or whatever their board is have to vote, and it can take 6 months for a change to happen. I was like, that's too long in such a fast space. So seeing Solana have a private company and be VC backed and have Solana Labs, and I was like, oh, this makes way more sense. They're just going to iterate like crazy and just keep adapting as fast as possible. And then I was like, okay, this makes more sense. VC chains, people love to complain about them, but devs get paid immediately by making progress and change by these funds. So they're going to get more devs and grow quicker. And this was back in September of last year. So I just kept figuring out that, like, why would someone go to ETH when Sol's going to iterate faster? Devs are going to get paid quicker. You don't have to worry about the voting process. And then it was like, I was a little bit nervous, like in November, because ETH pumped to 5K, Sol was up to like 250. And I was like, all right, looks like ETH may actually do something cool here. Like maybe I'm wrong. And then Steppen hit. And I was like, oh, it's game over. Like that was like my nail in the coffin. Like I'm right. I know I'm right. These people are using an app on the Solana blockchain without knowing that they're using crypto. And there was more transactions a day on the Steppen marketplace than Magic Eden. So like a lot of people didn't realize that was that there was this insane adoption from something like that. And for me, I was like, oh, this is clear as day. Like this, if this is possible on Solana, and Wolf Game had a chance to do similar, but they couldn't get mass adoption from the outside. Like it was a cool game, got a lot of interest, ton of money being made, articles being written about it. But Steppen hit like your grandmother could pick up an iPhone and download the app and feel comfortable walking and getting paid. And that was like revolutionary to me. I was like, this is how you get adoption. This is how people get into the space without realizing they're in the space, and that's all you need. Like that's where the waves happen, and somehow it worked out, and here we are now, where people are still like, oh, this is much faster, but it's way cheaper, and there's no gas, even though gas is cheap right now. But it's like people are excited again because the market's so quick, and there's new things and iterations going on.
Yeah. So where are you getting this data? Like when you're talking about, Steppen has these numbers, like where are you finding this?
So I use Dune Analytics and DApp Radar. So Dune Analytics has a bunch of dashboards that'll actually show like total transactions and what apps they're being used on. So when Steppen was actually going crazy, this was crazy because I'm like such an analytics nerd that I look at them every morning. Like I wake up and look at those metrics to just figure out where like the macro market is. And I saw Steppen on its third consecutive day of declining users. And so I floored all my Steppen. And then 2 weeks later, the token collapsed and China came out with like the announcement that they were basically banning it. And it was like just using data to my advantage. I managed to get out literally at like the Pico top of Steppen, which was crazy because so many people were just like calling me insane for doing it. And then I watched it kind of just decline. But like those tools are public. And that's the best part about the blockchain is all this data is public. You just need to figure out where you can go look at that stuff.
Hey, so I have 2 questions. Okay. What is your biggest gain in Solana? What is your biggest loss?
Biggest loss was Balloonsville. Yeah, like that was awful.
Dude. We got to sound serious talking about these names.
I know. So that was a December play. It was like probably the most hyped project on Sol at the time. Like that, the art looked decent, and it turned out it was just like notorious rugger on Sol, and he took $5.5 million out of the ecosystem. 17-year-old kid. They know he's somewhere in England. Like basically got him. Yeah, kid. Crazy, bro. And I lost like 22 grand on that because I sold the Pico bottom, and then Magic Eden derugged it. and so they ended up pumping after. So it was just like a series of unfortunate events.
Double kicking the balls.
Literally, bro, like drop kicked and then punched in the face on the ground. Like, great, thanks, awesome. Right before that though, I hit Boryoku Dragons, which was like
It's crushed.
40, 50K gain. Step in was another 5-figure gain. So like my wins have definitely outweighed, which helps me be able to take these losses and kind of keep pushing. But yeah, that was like within 60 days, I probably had my biggest win and my biggest loss.
So
Dang,
in
you
a
gotta
given
get props.
month, like what sort of cash are you spent, or like crypto or liquidity are you putting in on a given month? Is it 10,000, 20,000? Like what are you playing with?
It's tough. Yeah, I mean, right now it's probably closer to like 20, 30 probably, just because like I keep compounding gains, and I normally do shave some off the top each week as like a paycheck, basically, is how I try to like think about it. Like I'll have a set goal that I'll move and then like withdraw it so that I can actually recognize gains, pay my accountant down the line, pay my taxes, like all the stuff that I just need to make sure I actually take care of like sooner than later so I don't get burned come end of the year. But excuse me, August was the most profitable month I had, which was crazy. Because there was a project that 9x9x9 dropped. The ETH guy, OpenDAO, he dropped a project called ABC that was 0% royalties, and it went from 1.23 up to 70 SOL. And I went in and out of it, but at peak I sold 17 of them at like 40, 45.
Wow.
So that was a great month.
Yeah, that's crazy. This last month, and you're talking about this last August was your most
literally
profitable.
like 40 days ago.
I think it's still that project's still on the
the
top
number one
volume
traded
list.
volume right now. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
Can I share my screen? I just want to pull this up.
you have to press the share screen button.
Yeah, right here, this abracadabra.
Yep. Yeah, ABC, Abracadabra. Yeah, that's the one.
So its floor price is 69 SOL, 63 SOL.
64. Yeah.
Wow.
So I gotta ask you, Easy. Obviously you're known as the Soul Guy. I'm actually really interested to find out that your last month was your most profitable month in the space, especially because traditionally I'm still stuck on ETH, if you will, and so you can imagine what my last month was like. Not like I took a huge loss or anything like that, but it was just very slow moving. What are these differences? Like, why exactly are people so drawn to Solana versus Ethereum? And why is this flip happening kind of now? Is it just the classic FOMO is driving the space? Is it the affordable entry point? Like, what are these differences?
I love the question because really I think it's like a combination of like that. I think people saw with youths, they had this like massive viral sensation of social media. And dude, the NFT space, it's much more psychological than it is financial. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like when you see all your friends on Twitter getting something cool and like excited for them, you're like, dude, I need it. I need it. I don't know what I need, but I need that. And that's what
Right.
youths did. Like finally it got something that everybody on both blockchains was like, oh shit, I need to get into this. Like, dude, Allen Iverson was getting approved. It was crazy.
I saw that.
So like when that was happening, everyone was like, oh my God, what is going on right now? Like, I guess I'm just gonna apply. And then all of a sudden you needed to have Sol in a wallet, you needed to buy Dust. You had to do all this stuff that made you just kind of learn Solana relatively easily. Like, oh, I need a Phantom wallet. Oh, I need Solana. Oh, I have to swap here. Oh, Utes hasn't dropped yet. Maybe I just see what it's like to buy something, So it just caused this like wave to just get a bunch of net new users in. And then I think a lot of people realize like, oh, there's no way I don't have to speed up my transaction. I just get to kind of press the button, and if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, I've pressed the next button,
Right.
So
Right.
that was like it's just different. And I think people then realize like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Like the fee is less than a penny to do any transaction, and it's almost instant. And yeah, people FUD it like the network went down, but we haven't had any network issues in almost 6 months. So that's clearly changing, especially with this ramp in new users.
And when the network went down, can you elaborate on that exactly? Like, was it for an extended amount of time? Is it just something that happened and it was a little blip and everybody just likes to grab onto that so that they can say, hey, I got you? Sort of deal?
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 hours, and it was actually because like there was a validator overload, so that's tough because like that's a straight up outage. Like imagine losing your internet on a Monday morning for 4 hours. You're just gonna be pissed. Like you're
Right.
gonna be furious. You can't move your funds. You can't withdraw or deposit. So people are like, this is what happens on a centralized chain. Like with ETH, this would never happen. You would just have to pay more for a transaction cost. That was clearly a bad look, like a very bad look. And now once that happened, they realized like, oh, this could never happen again. So they ramped validators and nodes and like RPCs and all these other things that like help network sustainability.
Okay.
And they've rolled out, I think, like 15 updates since that outage, only focused on framework and like maintaining the servers and everything else. So clearly they realized, and we haven't had any degradation issues. Even with Utes, the network stayed perfectly fine, and everyone was like, "Oh, this thing's going down." Like everyone was taking bets the network would crash, and it held up much better than most people imagined. Even the marketplace was totally fine. So it was pretty crazy to see. Like clearly it's growing, and there was record volumes. That's the other thing. So like a lot of people like to hang on to that and be like, "Oh yeah, you guys have this network that goes down," but it's like, sure, it happened twice in the last year. God forbid. We've also never paid $2,800 to send money somewhere, you know? So
Yeah,
it's
for
like
sure.
pros and
Exactly.
cons.
Right. Like if that would have happened on the Ethereum network, then it's like you would have been paying $400 or $500 in gas at that point in time. And so, yeah, it's like the old Sylvester Stallone or Rocky saying, it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you can, take a hit and keep on going. I probably butchered that one. But yeah, we also like to say never waste a good crisis. And that seems like that's exactly what the Solana team did. There was an opportunity, about 15 updates since. So help me kind of put this in layman's terms. I've been messing with this thought a little bit in my head, and I personally can't come up with a good analogy, if you will. So I might be putting you on the spot a little bit, but they say Bitcoin is like gold standard for crypto, right? I'm sure you've heard that. So like, what would be the ETH and Solana equivalent? Like, where would they fall if Bitcoin's gold? And maybe do you even agree with that, right? If
I think
Bitcoin's gold,
Bitcoin is gold.
okay.
I think Bitcoin is gold. I think that's probably the easiest way because think about it. Like, other than a store of value with Bitcoin, like, you're not putting that in a hot wallet and walking around trying to pay with it, you know? The
Hmm.
way that I look at Solana is like a lot of people call it like banking the unbanked because like there's apps and mobile apps that you can actually pay with Sol from a cell phone, Android or iPhone. And to me, that's like the most powerful thing. I was just with a friend down in Florida talking about this, and he comes from Nigeria, and he was talking about the Nigerian community being heavy in Sol because $1 is, I think it's equivalent to like 650 of their local currency. So when you flip something for half a Sol, that's a ton of money. Like that's
Yeah.
almost life-changing money. And that's the cool thing about this is it's creating this like global economy and way like payment infrastructure. So I think of like Sol and with Solana Pay and everything else coming out for it as this potential way that you can actually just have a Phantom wallet and pay, you know? So I think of it as like almost like a debit card, to be honest. And it sounds crazy to say that, but like there's easier ways to pay with Sol than ETH. Whereas ETH is like ETH gives me like a silver. It's like the silver to gold because it does have intrinsic value. It can just be a store of value. And I mean, the miners probably get the best kickback off of ETH. Like if you didn't trade a single dollar and just were a miner last year, you made a killing. You know what I mean? Especially when
Hmm.
gas was pumping for like 3 months, you made an absolute killing. So I kind of think of that. Like I would say that's probably the silver to gold or kind of the tough part, you know? So when I think of Sol, I just think of it as like this, it's less than a dollar, you know? For me, it's literally currency. Like because there's tech and infrastructure that like the goal is so that I can walk up with my cell phone, tap a thing and pay with Solana right from the wallet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Solana environment, it's a little bit different. So I've dipped my toe in. I bought a few different things here and there. I haven't been, in it long enough to really, I guess it's just in and out. But what I've learned is it's like to me, I feel like it's Ethereum is maybe the boomers, and then you've got these like, young kids with an attitude over on Solana that are like, fuck you guys. You have your own language, you have your own, kind of things. And it's almost like, yeah, we don't even want to be that. We want to be this. But it takes a little bit to kind of understand how things work and, what things mean. I was going to see, can you share my screen? I just want to see if you could walk us through maybe some of these projects for people that don't understand them. Like you already referenced Utes, which is a part of DGods, right?
Yep.
There was a huge, I think the first one that started was OK Bears that got all the hype, but can you just like walk us through maybe some of the projects on here and why people are so into them?
Yeah, we can run like probably the top 11 here is actually perfect. So like Utes is clearly DGods. What's crazy about that ecosystem though is DGods was a 3 Sol mint back in October, and it almost went under mint. So DGods had this thing called the paper hand bitch tax that if you sold it for less than you bought it, they put a 33.3% royalty on it. But they could only manage that functionality on a marketplace at the time called Alpha Art. And that was the wild thing was Alpha Art was much lower in volume, so they ended up just fluctuating between like 3 and 5 Sol. Then they went on Magic Eden, and then Frank got really prominent on social media. So you got this figurehead, this leader, and it just drove that volume up. ABC, looking at that, like Utes is clearly the secondary collection of DGOD, so it's that intrinsic value. But ABC is HGE's project, which is 9 by 9 by 9. So he's got the ETH carryover. That project has 0% royalties, so people just love to trade the ever living hell out of it. They're working on a pseudo swap competitor. So if you're familiar with that on the ETH side, like an immediate market maker, they're doing the same thing for Solana. So that's what's driving a lot of the value. They teased a kickback for ABC holders. OK Bears, that was one that was like this true brand IP play. I actually just bought back into this myself. They're doing a basketball tournament. Yeah, Wagbo over here. They're doing a basketball tournament in Atlanta that, like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is pretty damn cool. 2 million Solana volume, which is crazy numbers. Like, that was the first massive wave. They ran up to 20K at peak. So, like, they did it in just crazy numbers. Vandals actually got a little bit of drama around it right now. They're doing an art revamp, but they're heavily plugged into the DGODs ecosystem. So this one is, yeah, and I hate how they look right now. So they're redoing all these. They look crazy. And people are really bullish on these because, like, they're very closely tied to DGODs. So people, it's just like right now there's all this DGOD FOMO. Shrimpin is like one of my favorite ones. It's like this meme project. But D-Farmer, the ETH name, is very much so pushing these. So, like, it's great to see because, like, you just have this kind of tail of value on it, which is hilarious. And it's just kind of a meme project. Primates, Acid Monkeys, Kets are all just kind of bigger community-based plays right now that they haven't done too much. They're more like brand plays, I would say. Kets on Crack is the one that I see a bunch of ETH people getting into right now too. So I'm really enjoying this one. Their community is awesome. It's a little bit like counterculture. They give me like gutter cat vibes. It's like very much so like the kind of ecosystem. But this one is like one of the most active ones on social media. So I do hold one of these. I hold an OK Bear. Those are both tucked up in a vault at the moment. That like I'm trying not to look at. Galactic Geckos is one though I do want to call out. This project rugged, like hard rugged back in like November, December, got derugged, and now their project is a venture capitalist firm called like Green Labs or something. They even got CoinGecko, their like common token marketplace, to change their PFP to an honorary gecko.
Oh, nice.
So like, yeah, just kind of crazy, man. It's a ton of fun. Blocksmith, another one that's like an actual utility project. When ETH people come over, this is the one I always recommend. I don't hold any, but it's like this one is like when people think like, what is utility? They have a launch pad. They do a bunch of custom code. They're very like white glove support for how they launch other projects. They're basically the pre-mint of Solana, so everyone uses their whitelist tool. Just a really cool tech stack. And then once you get past like Blocksmith, this is where it just kind of fluctuates based on the hour of what projects get in here.
So yeah, sorry, I was just going to ask, what is the biggest value if you're someone new coming in? Where are you putting your money for trying to get the biggest gain?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, obviously NFA. I've been kind of like shilling Kets just because like they have some cool stuff coming up. They just launched what's called 313 Labs, which is supposed to be like a LinkedIn for Web3. And they're trying to just build out like a software as a service company. They're doing another collection or an additional thing where you can like change and mutate your Ket into some enlightened one. They got Pablo Roche somehow plugged in, and if you're not familiar with him, he's involved with Rick and Morty. So there's some rumors that Kets will be in Rick and Morty somehow. There's a ton of like theory talk. He's shot it down, but he still plays into like tweeting at Kets, which is hilarious. So just a lot of cool stuff from that one. And they've held really well. They got as low as 20. There was some FUD about the project founder being from India, and people got upset about that. And then it was crazy to see their community say, like, the guy's name is Peblo. It was crazy to see the community all really come together and be like, we are Peblo over and over, and like put their flag of where they were from. And it built this like crazy community bounce back. And now they're all the way back up to 60.
Yeah, so I got to ask you, you kind of reference this, and I see it as well, that the Kets on Crack is kind of like they give you the gutter cat vibe and that sort of thing. So they are on a totally different blockchain. Is there a place, and what do you think it would take Cats on Crack and Cat Gang to collab and do something together? Like, is there a place for that? What would that look like, and what would it take?
That's a good question. It's tough to say because I think a lot of these Solana projects are trying to get more ETH exposure. And I think it's just a matter of time till we get something that does happen like that. Like, I think Kets and Gutter Cats would just be an awesome collaboration because they're both this kind of like rough on the edges type of project. So yeah, I don't know what it would take, to be honest, like not having a project or anything. I don't really know what those conversations would look like. I'm excited to launch, and just kind of try to see where that goes because a lot of Soul projects partner with each other, which is really cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know how it might look partnering with an ETH project. And I mean, we're going to definitely have overlap. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, man, you got me curious. I'm not sure what that might look like.
Yeah, and then Hofstra, can you pull up that list again? So another question that I have is like in Ethereum, we've kind of defined these key OGs, if you will. You know, the Crypto Punks, Bored Ape Yacht Club, and then I guess maybe depending on you know your role, you might even say the Crypto Kitties, as like the
Yeah.
OGs of NFTs and that sort of thing. Does Solana have anything that's kind of risen to the top, or is it just like right now in the moment these projects are hot and these projects aren't?
Yeah. So Solana Monkey Business is like the crypto punks of Sol. Degen Ape Academy is also up there, a project from last July, so over a year in the making. So it's those two I would say are like some of the OGs. D Gods are clearly like the Yuga of Solana now, but the
Okay,
crypto punks would be Solana Monkey Business.
there it
Yeah,
is.
so those. Yep, right there. So they've held 200 souls for like all time. Like same idea, 5K supply, pixel style art. But yeah, this one is really like the crypto punk, and for sure, still much cheaper than some of these other assets on ETH. But I think if you have conviction in Sol, this is like a great option to kind of tuck away. Node from the Nifty has one of these. He bought it in January because he had the same thesis, like all value ends up accruing to the top, and that's one that I'm a big fan of. So that Degen Apes is the other one. Yeah, Degenerate Ape Academy, another one holding 94 Sol. So these are just some of the OG projects that have been around and continue to iterate and done a really good job holding floor value.
Yeah, this
Very
is really good. I mean, that's some great alpha for people that are trying to get into Solana. We're coming up on time here. I just want to say thank you very much for coming on and sharing your knowledge. We look forward to seeing what you guys do with your project, Bodega Buddies. Sounds really cool, man. I just love seeing all the success you've had, and now that you're full time in the space, man, it's really cool to see.
I appreciate you, and thanks for having me on, dude. It's been a ton of fun, ton of great conversation. I love the kind of the comparison between markets and whatnot. So shout out to you guys for real. I love what you guys are making.
Yeah, outstanding. You know, it's been our pleasure. We're very happy to have you on here as well. I've got the links to all of your stuff in the video description. So remember, if you're watching this content and you enjoyed it, the number one thing that you can do is tell a friend about us. The number two thing you can do is hit that subscribe button. And like I said, we've got the links to everything in the video description. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we are the Web3 DJs, the home of the hottest projects, biggest influencers, and best conversations on the entire blockchain. Myself, Sticky Finger Jones, and the man, the Solana legend, Easy Eats Bodega. Make sure you guys go check him out and comment that you came from the Web3 DJs show. So until next time, peace.
Peace.
Shout out to you guys.